Hey guys, I'm so proud of you for choosing this option of doing the tougher systems equations by elimination. And so let's take a look at this. So on the ones that you had on your test, of course, you wanted to do elimination whenever the x and y and the constants were nice and lined up, right? So in this case, our x's are nice and lined up, as are our y's, as are our constants. But here's the problem if we go to combine those like terms and try to use elimination. So negative 2x plus 7x is going to give us 5x. Negative 7y plus 4y is going to give us minus 3y. And 30 plus 18 is going to give us 48. So we combined all those like terms and nothing canceled out, nothing eliminated. So that means we're going to have to make an adjustment to one of the equations, right? So now let's look and see if there's an easy way to get those variables to be numbers that'll cancel each other out. So I'm going to focus my attention on the x's for a moment. Let's say I want to cancel out the x's. Well, getting a 2 to become a 7, I mean, it's definitely doable, but I'm going to have to multiply it by 3.5. That means I'm going to have to multiply 2 by 3.5, and then to turn it into a 7, so that those 7s will cancel. And then, remember the way equations work, I got to multiply everything across the top by 3.5. So doable, but I know a lot of us, especially throwing in those decimals, like not ideal, right? So now let's turn our attention to the y's and see if we can cancel out the y's by multiplying something. So once again, it's really hard to get a 4, to multiply 4 by something to get it to become a 7 so that those will cancel out. It actually ends up being a decimal also. It's like 1.75. Do you really want to multiply everything across the bottom by 1.75? Probably not. So in a case like this, where there's not an easy way to multiply one equation to get those variables to cancel, then you got to start thinking about maybe multiplying both equations. And I'm again going to turn my attention to the x's. So there's a pretty easy way to get a 2 and a 7 to be the same number. It's pretty easy to get 2 and 7 both to be a 14, right? So if I took my top equation and I multiplied everything by 7 times 2, that would turn that 7 times 2 into a negative 14x. And then if I multiplied my bottom equation by 2 times 7x would turn my bottom x into a positive 14x. So now you could see that once I did that, my positive and my negative 14x's would cancel if I combined those like terms. So that is actually what I'm going to do. I'm not just going to multiply one equation by a number to get everything to cancel. I'm going to multiply both equations to get them to cancel. So remember the way that equations work. If I want to multiply 2x by 7, I got to multiply everything across the top by 7. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this equation. So 7 times negative 2x will be the negative 14x that we've already established. 7 times negative 7y is negative 49y. And then 7 times 30 is going to give us 210. Now my bottom equation, 2 times 7x is 14x. 2 times 4y gives me plus 8y. And then 2 times 18 gives me 36. So again, just in case you're still kind of wondering, so why did I multiply the top by 7 and why did I multiply the bottom by 2? The reason I did that is because I looked at my x's and I said, okay, it's pretty easy to turn a 2 and a 7 into 14 so that now I can combine my like terms and they will cancel out. So as you can see, now my x's are going to cancel. Negative 49 plus 8 is negative 41y. And then 210 plus 36 is 246. If I divide both sides by negative 41, my y coordinate is going to be equal to a negative 6. So I am going to take this drawing off here for a second. I'm going to go ahead and type -6 in for my y coordinate. Obviously, I'm not going to check it yet because I don't have an x coordinate. I still need that. So I am going to take the top equation. I'm going to rewrite it over here to the side. And I'm going to replace the y with a -6, of course. So instead of doing -7 times y, I'm going to do -7 times -6, which is a plus 42. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of the equation, and I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 42 from both sides. -2x is equal to -12. Divide both sides by -2. My x value is equal to +6. So now I'm going to type in my x coordinate. I'm going to check. Yay! I got it right. Okay, so here's another example of one that you might see on the challenge section. And just like before, you'll notice that my y's are lined up, but 3y and 5y won't cancel each other out. My x's are lined up, but 10x and -2x will not cancel each other out. So a variable won't cancel the way they are right now. So I need to figure out how to get those variables to be something that will cancel. So I noticed if I zoom in here on my x's, I can think to myself, you know what? It's pretty easy to get this 2 to become a 10, and then those would cancel out. Well, what do I multiply 2 by to get it to be a 10? I would multiply it by 5. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to rewrite this equation, and of course, I'm going to multiply everything by 5. So again, the reason I decided to multiply my bottom equation by 5 is because if I do 5 times 2x, that is going to leave me with a -10x in the bottom, which will cancel out with the plus 10x up here. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to rewrite my bottom equation after I've multiplied everything by 5. So 5 times 5y is 25y. 5 times -2x is -10x. 5 times -34 is -170. And notice I have just made a mistake. Okay, I want to point this out to you. The way this problem is set up, they kind of tricked you a little bit. See how the 34, the constant, is actually written on the left-hand side of the equal sign? It's not over on the right-hand side where it normally is. So I need to make sure that I am careful when I rewrite the equation. I need to be careful to also write it on the same side of the equal sign. And I'll show you what you do with that in just a second. And then, of course, 5 times 0 is just going to be equal to 0. Okay, now I'm going to bring the top equation over. I didn't have to make any changes to it because these x's are going to cancel without me having to do anything extra to the top equation. Again, notice that the 54 is over on the left-hand side of the equal sign, so don't put it on the wrong side. So now I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to combine all my like terms. So 3 plus 25y is 28y. Those x's are going to cancel. -54 minus 70. Those are both negatives, so we're going to have to combine those negatives. So that's going to be minus 224 is equal to 0. Excuse me. So this one's a little bit more complicated equation from before, but it's really not that big of a deal, right? We know how to isolate the variable. We just need to get that 224 over to the other side and divide by 28, just like we always do, so that our y coordinate is going to be equal to 8. So I'm going to go ahead and type 8 into that y coordinate. And of course, we need an x coordinate because we don't have that yet. So I'm going to take the top equation. And I am going to, of course, substitute 8 in for y. So instead of 3 times y, I'm going to do 3 times 8, which is 24, plus 10x minus 54. Excuse me. I've got like terms I can combine because look, they're on the same side of the equal sign. So this is 10x minus 30 is equal to 0. I'm going to add 30 to both sides. That leaves me with 10x is equal to 30. Divide both sides by 10. My x coordinate is 3. So now I'm going to type that 3 in for x, and voila. Okay, so now why don't you go ahead and try your own set of practice problems on Khan Academy, and let me know if you need any help.